Welcome to 10 Minutes to Refuel with Pastor Jim Diehl, and really appreciate you being with us today. We're in Lakewood, Colorado. Well, the truth that I have for today is found in Philippians, and it'll be chapter 1, but here's the background story. Paul was the leader of the early church at this point. He was the missionary of the early church, the theologian of the church, the church planter of the early church. He was just about everything in leadership. However, he was in prison in a Roman jail for 2 years, and he hadn't done anything wrong except be the leader of the Church of Jesus Christ. And it was not popular to be a Christian back in that day. So from a Roman jail, 2 years, we need to click that in. That's not good. He wrote with whatever he used and said these words, "But I want you to know, brethren, that the things which have happened to me," that is talking about being in the prison, because he talks about his chains in just a moment. "The things which have happened to me have actually turned out for the furtherance of the gospel, so that it has become evident to the whole palace guard and to all of the rest that my chains are in Christ." What does that mean? I think you have to use your imagination just a little bit while you read the Bible to kind of fill in between the lines. And here's the way I've got it figured out. These Roman guards, Roman soldiers, every single one of them, as it says in the entire palace system, they all watched over Paul at one time or the other. Let's just say 2 at a time. Let's just say they had a day crew and a night crew. And so I can see sun up, 2 Roman guards walking in. I can hear Paul say, "Now boys, why don't you sit down over there? I happen to have a chain from my leg down to the floor, and I'm not going to get out of here today. But I've been around here long enough, I've got this thing figured out. You're not getting out either till the sun goes down. So sit down. I'm going to tell you about Jesus, and he can set you free." Well, then I can imagine that they left at sundown and the midnight crew came. "Hey, boys, sit down over there. I'm not going to get out of here tonight. You think I'm in chains? I have been set free. You're the guys that are in chains. That's the way I used to be bound up and lived and all tied up with all the things the devil had done to me. Let me tell you how Jesus can set you free." And one, by another, Roman soldiers were becoming Christians, or else his being in prison would not have furthered the gospel. Well, let's translate that to 2020, this year, whoever you are and wherever you are. What does that say to us? Well, here's what it says to me. God can bring good out of bad. God can bring good out of bad. I'm not going to spend 1 minute trying to convince you or me or anybody it was good for Paul to be in prison. It wasn't. He should have been out doing another missionary journey or helping another church that had a problem, and on and on. It was bad. But God brought good out of it because Roman soldiers were coming to Jesus, and the rest of that story goes on and on what they did that Paul could not do. So what a lifetime lesson to learn. God can bring good out of bad. But I believe from what I've learned in life, if we want that to happen, we have to do 2 things. We have to give it to God, and give God time. Could I say it again? We have to give it to God and give God time. He doesn't answer every prayer instantaneously and all of a sudden everything is good. No, many, many times it's a process. God can bring good out of bad, but we have to give it to God, give Him time. And I think this COVID-19, this coronavirus, there's nothing good about it. I'm not going to try and say, well, that's good. No, it's not good. The last figures I have, in the U.S., over 40,000 have died. In the world, 154,000 plus have died. That isn't good. It's bad. But God can bring good out of it, or any other situation that you're facing, or any other burden that's pressing you down, or any other frustration that you've got. If you'll give it to God, give God time, He can bring good out of it, just like Paul in a Roman jail started to lead jailers to Jesus, or soldiers. In one of my early pastorates, we were running maybe 60 to 70 in attendance, somewhere in there. And a little group of 6 or 7 people kind of decided they were going to tell me as pastor what to do and what not to do. And it became very, very difficult. And all of this, you will, you won't, or whatever the case. It happened to be in a certain Sunday service that right in the middle of the service, 7 people got up, put their coats on in the wintertime, walked out the back door of the church, and I think they slammed the door, but whether they did or didn't doesn't make any difference. And 7 people walked out, never to ever come back again. I thought we had just lost the church. I thought we'll never make it now. I think those people probably paid their tithe, and how are we going to make it without that income? And that's a day I can remember forever, because that's the day I wanted to fly away. I had to give them to God. Now I'm going to be honest with you. It took more than one time for me. It was day after day after day. Lord, I give them to you. I give them to you. I'm not going to let them ruin me or steal all of my joy. For sure they had stolen some of it. Well, could I tell you that in time, after we'd given it to God and tried to get the whole church to do the same thing, and we had given God time, the church actually grew to 70, to 80, to 90, to 100, 10, 20. The church grew to the yearly average of 120. And the Lord taught me a lifetime lesson. God is greater than 7 people. God is greater than 7 people. And that church revived from that. And actually months later, maybe years, the Lord gave me an insight as to what happened. The church had been sick. It was like we had a boil. It was like we had an infection. And in that day, the infection left, and the church actually healed and started to grow again. Don't you dare say, Jim Diehl said, if you want your church to grow, you got to kick 7 people out. I didn't say that. I about died because of it. But God is bigger than 7 people. What's my point? That was bad. It was really bad. But God brought good out of it. and the church strengthened, became more healthy, and as I said, we had quite a little bit of growth. Well, God bless you today. I want you to believe that truth. God was bigger than a Roman jail. God was bigger than 7 people. And God is able to bring good out of bad for you, my friend. Hey, by the way, send this on to somebody else. Share it to somebody that needs it. And I'll pray that it will help them as well as us. Bless you all. I'll see you next time.